What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is JustNoFamily. It's everyone's new favorite subreddit. It's all the rage, haven't you heard? If not, go back to the other episode of JustNoFamily. It's a pretty good one, if I do say so myself, and I do.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.
Okay, so this first story is not just no family, sorry. It's actually from r/childfree. However, this is basically a part 1 to a part 2 that I'm going to read from Just No Family. Anyway, it's called, This is What Happens When You Depend Entirely Upon Your Kid to Look After You When You're Old. This is quite long, so please bear with me. My aunt, Dad's older sister, has always doted on her son. I'm Indian, and in my country, son preference is a pervasive social disease. Most people, regardless of social status, religion, etc., place great value in their sons, and daughters are seen as a burden on the family. My aunt was no exception. Ever since she was a kid, she had this messed up, one-sided competition with my dad. I, a woman, am my dad's only child. This gave her an opportunity to constantly make passive-aggressive remarks that my dad was so unfortunate to have a daughter, his line would end with him, etc., etc. She and her husband spoiled their son to the point that he became a narcissistic bully. He would often bully me, I'm 10 years younger than him, cheat on his girlfriends, and make unreasonable demands of his parents. But did they ever try to discipline him or say no to him? Of course not. Their prince could do no wrong. If he made fun of my stutter, I was a piece of trash who deserved it. If he cheated on his girlfriend, she must have neglected him. If he sexually harassed a female coworker, she must be a floozy. You get the picture. Years went by and he just kept getting worse. When he was living with them, he at least pretended to respect them, but when he landed a very high-paying job and was able to move out, it was as if he forgot they even existed. He and his wife hardly ever spoke to them. By now, my uncle had retired. My aunt had never worked. They had very little money left as they had spent it all on their son. They had paid for his education, his vacations, his wedding. Now they barely had enough to put food on the table. My dad would help them as much as he could. In 2011, my cousin's wife became pregnant, and during her 3rd trimester, my cousin asked his parents to move in with him and his wife. We all knew it was because they wanted free caretakers for the baby, but my aunt just couldn't shut up about how wonderful her son was for wanting to take care of his parents. By now, I had finished my education and was about to embark on a promising career. She taunted my father one last time, saying my education and career would be of no use as I was just a daughter and could never take care of him the way her son would take care of her. My dad just smiled and wished her well. She and her husband moved to my cousin's, who lived in another city, place. My dad would often receive calls and texts from her bragging about what a great life they had. She sounded a bit too chipper. My dad began to suspect that all wasn't right. About 6 months after they had left, my dad said he was going to visit them as he was getting worried about his sister. He asked me and my stepmom to accompany him. We reluctantly agreed. We arrive at their place and it is truly stunning. A luxurious home in a posh locality. This was no surprise as my cousin is very successful. What did shock us was the way he was treating his parents. They were practically servants in his house. My aunt tended to the baby, cooked and cleaned. My uncle tended to the gardens, took care of the cars, and went grocery shopping, etc. My cousin could easily afford maids, drivers, etc., but why would he when his parents were now his free slaves? What was even worse was the way he treated them. My cousin-in-law would often yell at my aunt and would just order her around. My uncle had this vacant and defeated look in his eyes. I had never liked him, but couldn't help but feel sorry. My dad took my aunt aside and told her she didn't have to live like this, that he could make arrangements for her and her husband. My aunt put on a fake smile and said, "Nonsense, we couldn't be happier. Anytime my cousin or his wife said something cruel to her or told her to shut up when she tried to make conversation, my aunt would put on a smile and act as though it was just the sweetest thing anyone had ever said to her. It would have been funny had it not been so pitiful. I almost felt sorry for her. But then I remembered all the cruel things she had said to me and my dad. My aunt's fake, rueful smiles and the way she tried to cover up how her son was really treating her is the cringiest thing I have ever seen. My aunt and uncle often stressed the importance of having a male heir. They claimed that their son would be their provider while I, a daughter, would be a burden till the day I was married off. Surprise, surprise, the exact opposite has happened. While they were basically slaves in their son's house, I'm single, successful, and last year, I helped my father buy a new car. Thank you for reading. Oh, I'd 100% agree with the whole sons get preferential treatment among a lot of Asian households. Hell, a lot of American households have the same thing going on, but also daughter favoritism is definitely a thing. How about you guys tell your tales of sibling favoritism or whatever in the comments below, and I'll get started on the part 2. This story's called, "The Woman My Cousin Had Dumped for Being More Successful Than Him Is Now His Boss's Boss." This post is not about me, but about my cousin's ex-girlfriend. You can read about my cousin in this post, the one we just read, to get an idea of what kind of person he is. Not a very good one. Back in 2003, if my memory serves me right, my cousin began dating a woman who was smarter, nicer, and way more successful than he was. As the outsider looking in, I never quite understood why she chose to be with him. My aunt and uncle, cousin's parents, never treated her with the respect that she deserved. In fact, they despised her for being able to outshine their precious prince in every way possible. My cousin's chauvinism too would rear its ugly head, and he would pick fights with her over the dumbest things. One such fight that my dad and I witnessed was him telling her not to accept a job offer that would pay her double of what he was making at the time. About a month after that, my dad received a call from her tearfully telling him that my cousin had left her for another girl. And what's more, he did it over the phone. She said she knew who the other girl was and that she was probably with my cousin when he broke up with her, as he could hear her voice. They had been together for 2 years, and this apology for a human being didn't even have the decency to break up with her in person. As expected, my aunt and uncle defended their son. According to them, it was obviously his girlfriend's fault for not knowing her place. My cousin's new girlfriend couldn't hold a candle's wax to his ex in terms of talent and accomplishments. But she did stroke his ego and did not threaten his super fragile masculinity, so he ended up marrying her and having a kid with her. Fast forward to now, my cousin was laid off from his last job. The circumstances of his dismissal are not known to me. What I have found out is that the boss of his boss at his new job is the woman he had betrayed and humiliated years ago. I can only imagine what this is doing to the sexist butthole within my cousin, and I cannot help but smile when I think about it. I learned all this from my dad. Dad is still in touch with one of her uncles, and we decided to get her number and get in touch with her. Yesterday, my dad and I FaceTimed with her for nearly an hour. She asked me about my life, and I told her all about my job, my boyfriend, etc. She said she was happy for me. She told us that she had been happily married for 8 years now and had 2 daughters. She looked confident and radiant. I jokingly asked her how she planned to punish my cousin. She laughed and said she would probably thank him for breaking up with her and making her realize that he just wasn't right for her. Her smile was that of someone who has completely healed. Someone who can say, "Thank you for doing what you did to me. My life is better because of it." My justice boner was raging the whole time, and the sense of pride and vindication I felt was almost overwhelming. She had won, and she bloody well knew it. In case you're wondering, I do have her consent for sharing her story here. Yo, check it out. Good on her. Honestly, someone who's gonna make that much of a big deal over someone making more money than them is not worth your time. In fact, anyone trying to stop you from bettering your life is not someone you should probably stick around with. Don't necessarily cut them off, but just say, hey, your input is not needed anymore because I'm looking for people who will support me and you're just trying to bring me down and just be a jerk and a douche. And I don't have any room for any more douches because I'm about to open a pharmacy. Yay! Assuming that's your goal. Alright, here's one called, I Guess I Won, but at the cost of my whole family. Kratos? I'm super pregnant. I guess not. I'm in my last trimester now, and we waited until I was 22 weeks to tell my family due to complications. We're fine, but we've been spending all this time building our nursery and being excited to be parents. My dear husband worked on the nursery himself, without my overbearing family and his knowing about it. He is a very proud dad, and it's helped him bond immensely with our baby, who isn't even here yet. My family, full of just knows, is split into two. My dad's family isn't involved in this success. I'm fighting them on another front, but they took the news of the completed nursery very well. My mother's family, specifically my just know aunt and just know cousin, aunt is good child for my step-grandmother and grandfather, and cousin is the good grandchild for them as well. Yo, Zach, side note, if those acronyms are wrong, I'm sorry. There's no guide at all on these acronyms. I'm just doing my darndest. Back to the story. Didn't take it well, but they were relieved I only wanted books from them for the baby's library. Just Know cousin has been in competition with me since she was a child. I don't know why. She's the good grandchild and got everything she always wanted. I ignored her my whole life and never competed, which I think made it worse. She has repeatedly told our grandparents and her mom that I'm a thief. She claims I've always taken her things, called her rude names, and she always manages to get everyone worked up about it. It's always been disproven, her things are always found, but the family always buys it. It hurts so much the last time that I refused to be around cousin without a second witness to our interaction. So no drama for 3 years because dear husband was always with me. After hearing I'd gotten married, eloped in a ceremony abroad, had a destination honeymoon, and was now having a baby, I think she snapped. I'm having the first great-grandchild for both families, which is a big deal for my cultural background. She tried after our announcement to take over my baby shower, which I told the family I wasn't having, because we already got everything we needed. I have tons of clothes, furniture, etc. I asked for books. Dinner went great with the whole side of the family being excited. Cousin had made sure couldn't be flip, and I knew something was coming my way because I'd refused her generous offer, thus not giving her any attention. She texted me several days later, she shouldn't have had my number in hindsight, and told me she'd be coming by my house to drop off gifts for my baby. I told her no thanks, we weren't taking gifts. She tells me she's coming by at X time, and I told her I'd be out. Even if I was home, I'm not taking them, and I'm not having any discussions with her about my pregnancy or baby. Well, she showed up anyways. She was apparently banging and screaming at my door. I have video footage from my Waze camera, so much that my neighbor called the police. They showed up and surprise! She has a warrant for unpaid traffic citations and was driving under a suspended license. So she goes to jail. Between my appointment and an emergency visit to the hospital, blood work issues, we wanted to confirm the baby was okay, she'd managed to tell my family a different story. I'd apparently opened the door, called her horrible names and called her gifts cheap, kicked her when she tried to take them back, and then slammed the door in her face with the gifts. I then apparently called the police, told them she had a warrant, and lied telling them she'd assaulted me. She then went to lockup and was treated horribly by the police. I thought for sure my family had to know she was full of crap. I was in the hospital for my baby. But they believed her. They came at me with texts, calls, voicemails, and all of it nasty. They didn't believe me. My mother and bio-grandmother did and tried to set the family straight. I decided I was done. I'm not defending myself. Why should I? I sent out a message to everyone that if they were going to believe cousin, they were no longer allowed near my family. I would disown them all. I had proof she was lying. They didn't believe me and kept up the nastiness. I blocked them all. 3 weeks later, the church ladies at my work, they attend my step-grandmother's church, told me that the whole family was talking ugly about me to the whole small town. I showed them the text and video since they were so shocked about what my family was saying. Once they saw the video and my pictures from the hospital, I made a video for myself of me watching my baby's heart rate and the clock, so it kinda proves where I was. They were horrified. They stopped bothering me and it got quiet. I guess a week ago, my cousin's story fell apart when my grandmother and uncle ran into the cop that arrested her, one of the church lady's relatives also. The church ladies and the cop backed my story up, and cousin crumbled when she was confronted. The family was horrified. Just No aunt and Just No cousin are on the outs. They found out she also had drugs in her car, so she lost her good grandchild status. My whole family has been trying to come by my house to discover my neighborhood has a new key code gate. My mother called me today to ask what she should do. Grandfather came by her house sobbing about the whole thing. I told her it wasn't my issue and I was sorry for her being caught up in it, but I'm not budging. I disowned them. I removed my family name from my hyphenated last name and just took my husband's. I deleted my Facebook. I changed my number. We're listed privately. I won, as sad as it is, because they're now facing the consequences of their actions. And I'm sad. I want my family. But they need to stay away. I can never give them another chance. What if they hurt me? Or, God forbid, my child next time with the toxic behaviors? I'm at a loss. My mother says they want to send a letter, but do I even read it? Edit. Thank you guys so much for the support. I actually spoke to my husband and showed him this thread. I had a good cry over the amount of support I received. And my husband has decided to file a CD on my grandfather and get a restraining order against my cousin, and step up our security. My mother has effectively told the entire family I want to be left alone, and she will not be passing any messages on to me from this point further. And any more contact would involve our attorney. It got very quiet today, and I'm quite relieved about it. I had my husband block everyone's number and sent my lovely church ladies, who bring me food and visit sometimes, a message detailing that I was too stressed to hear about my ex-family anymore. I asked that we drop that uncomfortable subject when they visit, and they were happy to oblige. We had a small visit today, and all we talked about was my nursery for the baby. Going forward, I've decided to stick by my nice cousin. I'm not giving these people any more real estate in my mind. Thank you guys so much. You're welcome for what I don't know. Anyways, good on you for cutting out the toxic people in your family. Or I guess your toxic family in this case. Anyways, Kratos, I wish good luck and good fortune upon you and your family. And also, thank you for sharing your story. It's great. And everyone in the comments, all these weird-ass acronyms in the story, I want you to try to find funny meanings for these acronyms, like this GGC, Gucci Granny Coochie. Ew.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.